Karn, the Legacy Reforged!
Say hello to my little friend.
With new mana boosting features to play all the artifacts!
Please stop. Stop. Please do not do that.
Welcome back, Planeswalkers, and today we're taking a look at Karn, Legacy Reforged. So Karn has lost his spark in the recent lore, but he is just as strong, if not stronger now in his new card. He is a 5 mana star golem legendary artifact creature. Now the star, his power and toughness depends on the highest mana value among artifacts we control. So naturally when you play him, he will be a 5/5, but in our deck we can get him up to a 9/9 if not bigger. But the main thing that we're looking at here and his strongest ability is at the beginning of our upkeep, we add colorless for each artifact we control. This mana cannot be spent to cast non-artifact spells, and until a turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So a really strong ability, and what we're going to be doing in this deck is we're going to be playing a lot of artifacts, obviously, to make good use of that second ability. And we're going to have so much mana that we are going to play some huge artifacts that are going to win us the game. And we also have some non-artifacts in there. Don't tell anyone, but we did slip into some non-artifacts that are just really strong in our colorless deck, and you kind of can't ignore them. And trust me, we play so many artifacts, we're going to be using that mana every single turn. Don't worry about it. Let's get into the mana base.
So moving into our mana base, we have quite a few interesting cards here. We get a lot of utility from it. Starting us off, we are going to play all the Urza lands that we can. We are going to try to assemble Tron, although we won't be able to do it every single time. It certainly is a possibility in the deck. We have cards like War Room to draw us cards, and Wish's Clinic to give us lifelink on our commander when he gets big. Thespian Stage and Tomb of Spirit Dragon, Treasure Vault, all just really good utility lands. Microsynth Gardens to copy artifacts, which we're, again, playing a lot of. Reliquary Tower to just make sure that we don't have a maximum hand size. Rogue's Passage for unblockability. And again, you can see there's a lot of different lands here. They are interchangeable. I would say, however, Inventor's Fair is not. Inventor's Fair is very important in this deck because it offers us a way to search up an artifact. Field of the Dead is also really good in this because it turns out we're playing all uniquely named lands. So on turn 7, when we play the Field of the Dead, it is online, and we don't have to worry about anything like that. And to finish it off, we do have Ancient Tomb. I would say for the mana base, a lot of stuff is interchangeable, and feel free to adjust it how you would like. I am not playing any basics in this deck, so there shouldn't be any issues with that, but it does depend on your play group. And of course, we are playing 35 lands, so actually a little land light in this deck, but I think you'll see that we have so much ramp that we're really not worried about hitting our lands. Going into our Planeswalkers, we do have Karn the Living Legacy. He offers us a way to ramp, and his emblem is quite good for us. We have Karn Liberated as a way to remove permanents and offer more utility. And then finally, we have Karn the Great Creator. We are not minusing this Karn in this deck. We are using him as a stacks piece to turn off our opponent's artifacts. And don't worry, we have ways to give our opponents artifacts, whether they like it or not. So he will have a really good spot in our deck. And finally, we have Ugin the Inevitable as a form of ramp and removal. And then the ultimate Ugin the Spirit Dragon, because he is a one-sided board wipe in our deck, and this card is just insane. I'm sure everyone here is a little bit familiar with that card, and if you're not, consider yourself lucky, and definitely pick yourself up a copy. In total, we're playing about 5 Planeswalkers. Next, we'll go into the artifacts. So, moving into our artifacts, we are playing quite a few artifacts, and they all do a lot of different things. To start off with, I will be going over the mana rocks that we are playing in this deck build. Starting off, we have Soul Ring, Mind Stone, and Arcane Signet. These are your usual suspects when it comes to games of Commander. We also have Prismatic Land, Mana Vault, and Everflowing Chalice. They're all really good, just mana rocks. Mana Vault has really gone down in price, and I still think it's a good time to pick up a copy if you haven't already. Also, Basalt Monolith, Rings of Brighthearth, and Manifold Key. So there is a combo with Basalt Monolith and Rings of Brighthearth to get infinite colorless mana, which is pretty useful in our deck because we're an entirely colorless deck. We have Fellware Stone and Liquid Metal Torque, as well as Thought Vessel. They are mana rocks that give us utility. We have Staff of Completion, Skyclave Relic, and Pristine Talisman, which is basically the same thing. Again, mana rocks with utility. Thran Dynamo, the Might Stone, and Coveted Jewel. Coveted Jewel makes games really interesting, and if you haven't played with it before, I definitely encourage you to pick up a copy and put it in your deck. Mightstone is just a really good mana rock right now because it is able to remove creatures or give us draw, which is just, I mean, why would you not want that in your deck? We're also playing Sculpting Seal and Karn Silex as a way to board wipe. We have Nevinyrral's Disc as another way of board wipe, Staff of Domination, and Blade of Selves. Blade of Selves with some of our larger creatures can do some really nasty things, so it's actually a pretty fun card in the deck. We're not usually going to equip it to Karn as he's legendary. We also have Unwinding Clock, Blinkmoth Urn, and Forsaken Monument. All really good cards. They double our mana, and Unwinding Clock lets us get up to some crazy things in this deck. And then finally on our top end we have Microsynth Lattice, Planar Bridge, and Godpharaoh Statue, all really useful artifacts. With Karn, we basically can turn off everyone's permanents. Godpharaoh Statue slows people down, and Planar Bridge, there are some really nasty permanents in our deck that we can go find with Planar Bridge, and it's at instant speed. Keep in mind, you can look up on your opponent's end step. And with Unwinding Clock, things get really nasty really fast, so I really like Planar Bridge in this deck. We also have Cauldron Complete, because this creature is hard to deal with. Darksteel Forge and Portal to Phyrexia. Portal to Phyrexia, it just offers, it's a lot of value for the mana of the card, and Darksteel Forge is just a good way to make our board indestructible so that when we use our Nevinyrral's Disc, we basically lose nothing for it. We also have Sensei's Top, Aetherflux Reservoir, and Mystic Forge as a combo in the deck. So basically, if we have any kind of discount on our artifacts, which we are running quite a few, we will be able to infinitely play Sensei's Top from the top of our deck and basically get infinite life and use our infinite life to laser beam everyone at the table. And that was our artifacts, which we are playing 36 of. Okay, so going into our creatures, this is where the fun stuff comes into our deck. We have quite a few interesting cards here. So to start us off, we do have some mana discounters, Foundry Inspector and Joyrose Familiar, with a Lodestone Golem to set our opponents back, so pretty self-explanatory artifact cards. Next, we're moving on to Liberator Urza's Battlethopter, a way to give all our colorless spells, including our artifacts, flash, and it also grows itself as a giant flyer, which we love. Cryptolith Thrall, because we don't have access to Bedeem or blue, so we need a way to protect our artifact creatures. And we also have Karn, this Silver Golem, because hey, if we're turning everyone's lands into artifacts, why not just blow them up with Karn? Because, hey, that's always fun, and I don't know. It might be a little rude for your table. Definitely play at your own risk, but I think it's a really fun thing to do. We also are playing Endbringer, the giant Eldrazi that gives us card advantage, and we have Soul of New Phyrexia, a really underplayed card, which I think is pretty sweet. On rate, it's a good rate for its body, basically, for the mana cost, and then also you're giving your creatures indestructible, which who doesn't love. And then we have Wormcoil Engine, my favorite. I just love Wormcoil Engine. I absolutely love it. The card's super useful. It gives us life gain, and there's a couple of times with Blade of Selves that where people are blocking up our tokens, we're getting, not only we're getting massive life, but we're also getting the worm tokens off of the death trigger for it. Next, we have Meteor Golem, Platinum Angel, and Cityscape Leveler. All really strong cards. Meteor Golem, Cityscape Leveler are our removal spells, and Cityscape Leveler is also a giant creature with Unearth, so we love that, and it makes Karn an 8/8, so sweet. Platinum Angel, because it is a good utility creature. It's also gone down in price, so it's a good time to pick one up, you know, might as well. And who doesn't love a nice flying angel that makes it to where you can't lose the game, so always a sweet card. We also are playing some really big boys here. We got Platinum Imperium, because I love this card, and I just always am looking for a home and a reason why I should play this card, and I love it. We also have Triplicate Titan. Basically, what if we made Wormcoil, but more expensive and better? So, awesome. I love Triplicate Titan just another Wormcoil engine basically. And we also have Void Winnower, because this card is comically underrated. It's barely played, but it is super useful because a lot of the time your opponents aren't going to be able to block, so you're going to kill them with your giant creatures. And also it prevents like Swords to Plowshare, a lot of those exile removals that answer our indestructible creatures. So Void Winnower is definitely a really strong card in our deck. And finally, to finish things off, we got Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, and Blightsteel Colossus. These are 3 game enders. This is what we're looking for with Planar Bridge to just basically end the game. Now, Ulamog you might not want for Planar Bridge because you do want that cast trigger as removal. But these other cards, I mean, we could lose 4 cards off the cast trigger. That's fine. The Annihilator for us really what we like on Kozilek, and the fact that he shuffles back in. Blightsteel is really scary because he's not legendary. That's right. The Blade of Selves that we have from earlier is it's going to kill the table if we are able to equip that onto our Blightsteel. So some really big creatures, as you can see here. Not all of them artifacts, but the majority of them are. We are playing in total 18 creatures. Now we'll be moving into our spells. So when it comes to spells for a colorless deck, we are very limited on what we can actually bring. Warping Whale is a good way to deal with a 1 toughness creature, but just kidding. It's actually to counter the sorcery spell. That's like pretty much the only thing you'll ever be using on this. You can try to ramp with it. That's a possibility, but I'll be honest with you, it is better to save this card for something like a Vandal Blast if you know your opponents are playing that, or some kind of board wipe. Titan's Presence is actually a really good removal spell in our deck, and All Is Dust is very, very brutal in our deck. It always has been. And just a great card. Scour from Existence and Not of This World. Not of This World is very useful for us, especially with our big creatures. Obviously, people are going to be trying to remove them. And Scour from Existence is just, it's another way for us to remove a lot of problematic cards. You definitely can replace this card if you find another artifact card that's missing. There's the Clan Workers. I know some people, there's a lot of different strategies you can go with artifacts. And if you do try to modify the deck, you absolutely can. And if you're looking for a cut, this would be your first one, is Scour from Existence, most definitely. Anyways, that is actually all the spells on our deck. Not that many. And that's our deck. As always, guys, I want to thank you for getting this far in the video, and I hope you enjoyed that deck list. It did take me some time to make this deck list, so if you haven't subscribed already, I would really appreciate that, because I am going to be making deck lists weekly, as long with arena gameplay, and so you have a lot to look forward to. See you guys in the next video.